Senator Rand Paul, Republican of Kentucky, joins us. One of my favorite members of the Senate because he's also a doctor, an ophthalmologist. Isn't that right, Senator?
That is. I practiced medicine for about 20 years, primarily doing eye surgery, a lot of cataract surgery, and also some LASIK surgery.
Well, it's absolutely incredible. We all know how complex the eyeball is, and seriously, I'm in awe of anybody who can do that. Sir, I would like to get your reaction to Attorney General Barr's decision, or at least the report, that he has found no evidence of voter fraud thus far. But we're also hearing that he hasn't spoken to witnesses, that there hasn't been a top-to-bottom review of the machines. Some of us are wondering if he's a warrior with the Constitution or if he's just a bureaucrat. What are your thoughts on Mr. Barr and what we're hearing out of DOJ?
You know, I think that anybody looking at this election needs to acknowledge how extraordinary this election was. You know, traditionally, less than 1% of the vote is by mail. Now you have as much as a third of the vote. In some places, 40 and 50% of the vote by mail. And so there's something inherently more difficult about validating or verifying legitimate votes when they come by mail, because you don't know actually who voted. When you show up in person, they see you, they look at your picture, you sign in, and there's this automatic sort of verifying process. That didn't exist in this election. So for someone to say that there were no problems without looking at individual signatures and ballots and statistics, there's a lot going on that points towards anomalies. I don't have enough evidence to say it's fraud at this point, but I think it needs to be legitimately looked at. And also, if no court is going to look at it now, by all means, legislatures around the country need to make sure this never happens again. You have to have in-person voting so you can have a valid election. If you have it done by mail, there's no way to adequately verify whether the people who sent you the ballot actually are the people who are legitimate voters.
Well, we'll see what happens. A lot of us are convinced that there was fraud and obviously anomalies in this election. Hey, I saw Dr. Fauci. You've tussled with him over the past couple of months on the Sunday shows. A couple of things. Number one, I don't know why he's on television so much. He was on the shows. He was very general. He's often non-committal. Seems to be playing both sides of the fence. I'm thoroughly confused by him. Are you?
Well, I'm glad he's finally admitting what we've been telling him for 6 months, that kids should go back to school. For 6 months, I've been telling him that the data in Europe and Asia and Iceland all points towards kids being poor transmitters of this. Contact tracing studies across entire countries have showed kids to be poor transmitters of this disease. And he ignored the evidence for 6 months. And he kept saying, well, we could open some schools, but not while the virus is active. Well, the virus is still active, but finally he's come around to saying the schools should be open. Look, you even have that progressive socialist de Blasio now saying the schools should be open, and yet you have a Democrat governor in Kentucky, Beshear, in my home state, who just closed the schools this week. And so they aren't getting the message. The scientific evidence is in. Schools should stay open. Kids rarely get very sick from this. The death rate for people under age 25 is 1 in a million. We need to look at the evidence, and the left keeps saying, look at the evidence, but then they won't look at the evidence and actually make sound decisions. So I'm glad that Fauci's coming around, but he says, oh, but we have to still close bars but not schools. Well, even the evidence for lockdowns is failing. Every evidence of all of the things that we have done, including mask mandates, frankly, the incidence has gone up. The more mandates we get, the more infections we've gotten. So really, there isn't a lot of evidence that all of the things he's been recommending work at all to change the natural course of this disease.
You know, and Fauci has been basically on both sides of every issue since the start. I remember on 60 Minutes, he said, you know, it won't make a difference if you wear a mask. And now he's emphatic about that. And you mentioned that instances are going up even though we're wearing masks. Look, I want to bring you to the Georgia runoff coming up January 5th. The president will be campaigning, we believe, this weekend. In the wake of the mess that we have in Georgia from the November 3rd election, how worried are you about what's going to happen on January 5th?
Very worried, because frankly, the whole idea of having the election done by mail is happening again, and it's worse than that. You don't even have to show the wherewithal to show up or request a ballot. Everybody that voted absentee the last time is being mailed an application to vote again. So you don't have to ask to vote in the election. It's coming to you. And there is a real danger that if there were problems with the mail-in ballots before, that there will be again. But what I would suggest to the senators running down there is you have to police the election in real time. It means you need to have people, including lawyers with judges on speed dial, if they won't let you watch the vote being counted. If the election laws say 6 feet, it needs to be 6 feet. They were doing 12 feet, 20 feet. They were sometimes locking them completely out of a gymnasium where votes were counting or moving the vote counting to another side. It has to be done in real time, and given the chance to cheat, people will cheat. And there's much more likelihood, whether it's proven or not, it's inherently more difficult to verify votes when they come in by mail than if they come in by person. So I do worry about what's going to happen, but I also think that we have to turn our people out, because if we lose the Senate, nothing stands between us and Biden's transforming America into AOC's, I guess, socialist dystopia that they're wishing for, but nothing's stopping them if they take the Senate. The only thing standing between us and this rapid transformation of America that Biden wants is a Republican Senate. So for goodness sakes, people need to get out there and do what they can to try to keep a semblance of really what made our country great, and that is capitalism, freedom, voluntary exchange, the free market. And I am very worried about this election and what happens in January.
January, of course, but I'll say there's one other thing that could stand in the way of Joe Biden's AOC's America, President Trump, term 2. It's not over yet. We're watching very, very closely. Senator Rand Paul, privileged to have you on once again, Republican of Kentucky. Thanks again.
Newsmax TV is now America's fastest growing cable news channel. We give you the real news you need. So subscribe to our YouTube channel and give us a thumbs up. If you like this video, share it with your friends. Newsmax TV streams live on YouTube for free. Newsmax TV, real news for real people.